You know what's funny? It's how you can give someone every piece of your heart, and they'll still look at you like it's not enough. You try? God knows you try. You initiate the conversations, check in, make time, forgive the silence, justify their distance. You keep showing up. And still, they make you feel like you're the one asking for too much, like your love is heavy, like your presence is a burden. And the worst part? You start to believe it. You start to question your own worth just because they couldn't see it. And then one day, you just stop. You stop chasing. Stop reaching. Stop asking why they don't call, why they don't care, why you always have to carry the weight. At first, it's not loud. It's just a quiet pullback, a deep breath, a moment of stillness. But to them, it's deafening, because your energy was the one thing they took for granted. And suddenly, it's gone. No good morning texts. No checking in. No soft reminders of your presence. It's just silence. But this time, it's intentional. And that's the shift. Not because you don't care anymore, but because you finally care enough about yourself. Funny how it works. The same silence they once ignored suddenly becomes unbearable. They start checking their phone a little more often. They replay old messages. They stalk your stories even if they don't react. It's not that they suddenly changed. It's that your silence exposed what your words never could. Your absence is louder than your presence ever was. And that silence? It starts echoing back at them. It makes them question, wonder, regret. Not because they lost someone who needed them, but because they lost someone who finally stopped needing them. That's what they never expected. You were supposed to keep caring, keep chasing, but now you've become the calm they can't disturb. You know what's really beautiful? Waking up and not feeling the urge to explain yourself, not waiting on a message, not checking who watched your stories, not hoping they'll remember you exist, just peace, a calm that comes from within, a silence that no longer feels like punishment, but freedom. You spend more time with yourself, and for the first time, it feels like enough. You rediscover things you love, the walks, the quiet mornings, the music you stopped listening to. And in that space, you start to heal. You don't need closure anymore. You don't need them to understand, because you've already found something better, clarity. And that clarity? It's the start of everything you were missing while you were too busy chasing someone else. It always happens this way, doesn't it? Just when you finally found peace, they feel the shift. They reach out. A casual message, a meme, a hey, how have you been? But it's not the same anymore. You read it, but you don't feel the pull. You're not waiting anymore. You're not hoping anymore. Because they're reaching for a version of you that no longer exists. The one who stayed up late wondering. The one who over-explained. The one who tolerated the crumbs. That version is gone. Now you respond with clarity, not desperation. With grace, not resentment. With boundaries, not hopes. And maybe they realize it now, the depth of what they lost. But here's the thing. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because they did. You don't owe them a paragraph. You don't owe them your process. You don't owe them the journey it took to finally choose peace. They had their chance. They had your presence, your kindness, your consistency, and they didn't value it. So now, when they come around asking questions, pretending to be confused, remember, your silence is not a mystery to solve. It's a boundary. You don't need to write them a letter explaining how you cried, how you stayed up nights wondering, how you gave more than you got. They knew, they just didn't care until now. So no, you don't need to explain why you're done. Your peace explains it for you. Not every ending needs a conversation. Not every goodbye needs to be spoken. Sometimes the most powerful closure is silence. You didn't block them. You didn't lash out. You just moved on. No drama. No final scene. Just a quiet exit from the chaos. And that's what they'll remember. That you didn't beg. That you didn't explode. That you didn't try to force understanding from someone unwilling to listen. You simply stopped showing up for someone who stopped appreciating your presence. And that's the kind of closure that echoes. Because it came not from anger, but from growth. You let go with grace. You healed in peace. And you closed the chapter with dignity. That is power. There comes a shift, a quiet inner turning when you stop chasing what doesn't want to stay. You no longer feel the urge to prove your worth. You're no longer waiting for someone to realize your value. You've already realized it yourself. And from that place, you stop chasing. Not because you gave up, but because you finally remembered the right ones don't need convincing. You become grounded, rooted in your own peace. You raise your standards not out of spite, but out of self-love. And what you attract now, it looks different. People who match your calm. People who respect your space. People who don't make you beg for bare minimums. Because when your energy says, I don't chase, the world begins to respond with people who are ready, not perfect people, but present ones, not people who keep you guessing, but people who make it clear. That's the shift. You no longer run after love. You sit still and let it meet you halfway. Funny how silence can scream louder than words ever could. You used to chase. You used to explain. You used to care so much it hurt, but now you're silent. Not the kind of silence that begs for attention, not the passive-aggressive I'll show you kind. This is different. This silence, it's peaceful. It's whole. It comes from a place where you've made peace with what was and what wasn't. And now that you're no longer reacting, they start feeling the absence, because your voice, your care, your energy used to fill a space in their life, and now that space echoes. It echoes with every unread message, every quiet morning without your good morning text, every night they don't hear from you. You didn't block them. You didn't post quotes or revenge. You just stopped feeding the bond. And that silence? It's unbearable for someone who got used to your noise, because it wasn't just sound you gave them. It was presence. It was love. It was the feeling of being seen. Now they feel the weight of your absence like gravity. And for the first time, they're the ones wondering. Here's what no one tells you. The silence doesn't just end the pain. It begins your rebirth. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You stop offering your soul as a place for others to dump their mess. And slowly, quietly, you start to come home to yourself, to your truth, to the version of you that doesn't apologize for existing. You no longer shrink for love. You no longer bend just to keep someone from leaving. You don't need to be needed to feel worthy. You just are enough as you are. You find peace in your own presence, joy in solitude, clarity in stillness. You no longer look back hoping they'll chase. You're too focused on what's ahead now. And the version of you that emerges, they wouldn't recognize that person anymore, because you are no longer the echo of someone else's rejection. You are the sound of your own becoming. You didn't lose them. You found you. Ben Kang Ham Teet H. Ben Ji Teen Team Le Chin M Chen. And that is the most powerful thing of all.